Boy, I sure wish I knew more about the Reconstruction era in the American South, especially the lives of former slaves.
Well, my friend, it is your lucky day because I would like to talk to you about the effects of emancipation on African Americans immediately following the Civil War.
That sounds terrific. It really is my lucky day.
You see, although Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation freed slaves across the South, one could argue that African Americans' lives were better during slavery.
That can't be right. I have always been taught that the Emancipation Proclamation fixed the racial inequities that 2 centuries of slavery had ingrained in the American South.
As crazy as it might sound, President Lincoln, nor many other non-slave state politicians, morally opposed slavery. In fact, Lincoln's executive order is better described as a strategic military decision. Basically, African Americans did not gain equality after their emancipation because abolitionist legislation was never embraced by the majority of the population. Local and state governments went as far as establishing laws specifically designed to hamper the improvement of black men's rights known as black codes. The authors of The Results of Emancipation in the United States of America argue that aid for African Americans came from the government and from voluntary supporters. It was the voluntary support and grassroots momentum that were necessary for equality and not just the passage of the 13th Amendment, for instance.
So you were saying that the Reconstruction legislation, such as the right to vote, gain citizenship and emancipation did not benefit former slaves. You must be nuts.
Of course, such legislation provided opportunities and improved the legal standing of black people. But those chances for equality only really existed on paper. For instance, sure, African Americans were no longer bound by slavery, but after emancipation, former slaves often signed sharecropping contracts, by which black people fell into so much debt while working for their landlord that they became bound to work for them for life. Sounds familiar, right? African Americans did not even enjoy the right to vote in many cases. White supremacy groups such as the Ku Klux Klan terrorized anyone, white or black, that advocated for the development of black rights. As a result, it was not long before blacks and other Republicans across the South were scared away from the polls.
Whoa, W, you must be a genius. I never considered the way there is a major differences between passage of legislation and actual implementation.
That is right. Only when government action is embraced by the population can a real social change occur. To quote the American Freedmen's Union Commission, abolition of slavery and establishing freedom are not one and the same thing.
Gee whiz. Thanks for sharing all of this with me.